This happened in 2019 when I was renting a basement apartment in Columbus, Ohio. It wasn't a creepy place or anything. Just cheap. That's why I took it. The house belonged to an older couple who lived upstairs. Quiet. Kept to themselves. The basement had its own side entrance, a tiny kitchen, one bedroom, and a bathroom with one of those small frosted windows near the ceiling. The first month was normal. Then the noises started. At first, I blamed the house. Old places make sounds. Pipes knock. Wood shifts. You tell yourself it's nothing. But these weren't house noises. They were deliberate. 3 slow knocks on the wall behind my bed. Not loud. Just enough to wake me up. The first time it happened, I checked the time. 2:17 a.m. I figured maybe the owners dropped something upstairs. Then it happened again the next night. 2:16 a.m. 3 knocks. Same wall. Directly behind my head. Now here's the thing, that wall wasn't shared with the upstairs. It backed into the storage room. A small unfinished concrete space the landlords said they rarely used. I told myself I was overthinking it. Until I heard something drag across the floor on the other side. Slow. Like furniture being moved inch by inch. I grabbed my phone and turned off all my lights. Complete silence. Then one soft scrape. Right behind my bed. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I casually asked the landlord if they had been in the basement storage room around 2 a.m. He looked confused. No, why would we be? I laughed it off. Said I must have been dreaming. That night, I moved my bed to the opposite wall. 2:18 a.m. 3 knocks. But this time, they came from the wall I had just moved the bed against. My stomach dropped. I stayed frozen. Didn't make a sound. Then I heard breathing. Not loud. But close. Like someone was on the other side of the drywall. Just standing there. Listening. The next day I decided to check the storage room myself. There was a separate door outside that led into it. The landlord had given me a key in case I needed to access the breaker panel. I walked in around noon. It smelled dusty. Concrete floor. Old boxes stacked against the far wall. And right in the center of the room was a chair. Facing the exact spot where my bed had originally been. Just sitting there. No reason for it. No boxes near it. No table. Just a single wooden chair positioned directly against the shared wall. I felt cold instantly. I called the landlord again. Asked if they had moved anything in storage. He swore they hadn't been down there in weeks. That night I pushed a dresser against the bedroom wall. I didn't care if I sounded crazy. At 2:14 a.m., I woke up to the sound of something heavy hitting the wall. Like someone shoved it. The dresser vibrated. And then I heard it clearly. A whisper. I couldn't make out words. Just a low, raspy murmur right on the other side. I grabbed my phone and started recording audio. The whispering stopped. But then came the scratching. Long. Slow. Nails against drywall. That was it for me. The next morning, I skipped work and called the police. I told them someone might be in the storage room. They came out, knocked on the outside storage door, announced themselves. No response. They unlocked it and went inside. I stood outside shaking. About 5 minutes later, one officer came back out and asked me how long I'd lived there. 2 months. He asked if I knew there was a crawlspace access panel in the storage room. I didn't. Apparently, Behind a stack of boxes was a small square cutout in the concrete wall leading into an unfinished utility gap that ran behind parts of the basement walls. Big enough for someone to squeeze through. And inside that crawl space, they found food wrappers, water bottles, and a thin blanket. Someone had been living in that gap, watching through small drilled holes in the drywall insulation, including the wall behind my bed. The chair wasn't random. It had been placed there so whoever it was could sit quietly and listen. Or watch. They never found the person. No fingerprints. No clear entry point. The landlords insisted they had no idea. Police said it could have been someone who previously had access to the property. Maybe an old tenant. Maybe someone who broke in and figured out the layout. All I know is this: the whispering wasn't in my head. The knocking wasn't pipes. And someone had been close enough to hear me breathe at night. I moved out within 3 days. Didn't even argue about the lease. For months after, I couldn't sleep unless my bed was in the center of the room, away from every wall. Because when someone hides behind a wall once, you never really trust walls again. If you've ever lived in a basement apartment, or anywhere that felt off, trust that feeling. Sometimes the real horror isn't ghosts. It's the possibility that someone is closer than you think. If this story got under your skin even a little, drop a comment and tell me, could you sleep in that room after finding out? And if you want more real feeling horror stories based on things that actually happen in the world, stick around. Because not every nightmare comes from the dark. Some of them live inside the walls. If you've ever had a moment where your gut told you something was wrong, tell me about it below. Someone else might need to hear your story. And if you're into true, realistic horror, stick around. There's more coming.